Affirmative needs to take a position.
Okay.
Let's go. A podium. Stand up to the podium to do your speaking. Okay. And then any questions? You need anything clarified that you don't get? You have just a minute or so to ask her to clarify anything. It's not debate. Just clarify her case. She sits down. You guys follow. Then you have your work session. So follow your timeline. Okay. Good luck. Have a great debate.
Hello, everybody. This is my argument that the true writer of William Shakespeare works is Edward de Vere. My introduction is, who is the true author of the works of Shakespeare? For many years, many people were eager to embrace the logic that William Shakespeare was in fact an actual man. It had not occurred to anyone that this man, so well known, might be a part of a conspiracy to conceal the truth that another man penned his work. According to the information we found while researching the real author, we have come up with the facts that prove that Edward de Vere is the man behind the famous writer. My partner and I say no. We do not believe that William Shakespeare is the true author of some of the greatest works on literature. My resolution, therefore we stand resolved that the works of William Shakespeare should be attributed to Edward de Vere. At this time, we would like to offer the following definitions. Jargon is special words or expressions that are used by a particular profession or group and are difficult for others to understand. Also, King Edward, is it even on?
Yeah, it is.
And what is the definition of this? School word. At this time, we would like to offer the following definitions. Jargon is special words or expressions that are used by a particular profession or group and are difficult for others to understand. Also, King Edward VI School in Stratford upon Also, King Edward VI School, Stratford upon Avon. This is the school believed to be where William Shakespeare attended as a child. My partner and I believe that Edward de Vere is the true author of the works that are credited to William Shakespeare for the following reasons. My first argument is, according to the WGBH Educational Foundation video, The Shakespeare Mystery, there is no evidence that William Shakespeare even existed. There's no evidence that he went to the school, Stratford upon Avon. There's also nothing in his house that can be traced back to him. In his will, there were no notes about any of his work. And when he passed away, no one noticed it. Also, none of his work was found on hand when he died. My second argument is, does Edward de Vere lie behind the persona called Shakespeare? We believe this because no one wanted to read a poor man's work, so he created the persona Shakespeare in order to get people to read his work, because there was a feud between the social classes back then. He disguised his work. What? What? sound stupid?
Oh my god.
What?
Alright, thank you.
There you go.
Just start that one over.
What? What did I do wrong? Well, why'd you laugh?
Because you were like, persona.
I said it twice.
I only had 6 minutes, homie.
No, I paused it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I have to leave this on. Turn that in there. Want me to let you guys read? Our second argument is Edward de Vere lied behind the persona called Shakespeare. We believe this because no one wanted.
God damn it.
Back. Okay. Try to not look at that word persona.
Guys. I'm so done.
Megan do the packet. Somebody do the packet.
Okay.
English packet.
Do your work.
You too.
I am.
We're not doing the packet.
Huh?
Let's just finish our debate so we can edit
And
it.
then be like for the second or third one, be like also according to the WBG foundational thing. So
W
this thing,
B
just say that again.
W
And-
what?
Say that part, and then to the dot dot replace that with that.
Oh my god. That's not
Can
a
I have
dot.
mine?
Can I go? Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Our second argument is Edward de Vere lies behind the persona called Shakespeare. We believe this because no one wanted to read a poor man's work, so he created Shakespeare in order to get people to read it, due to the fact that there was a feud between the social classes back then. He also disguised his working in order to, He also disguised his work in order to keep his reputation in court, because that is where he worked. The other reason is De Vere got the nickname Shakespeare while in court, so he could have used this name for his work. Sounds. How do I say it?
You keep changing
Huh?
it. You keep changing it.
Well, you said make it sound smarter.
Well, then just don't. Just leave it up normal.
Okay. He disguised his work in order to keep his reputation in court because that is where he worked. Also, De Vere got the nickname Shakespeare while in court, so he used this.
Just say one word. That's all.
Okay, well, we already got The last reason is
Hurry up.
okay. Also, all portraits of William Shakespeare are different, so this proves that there might not have been a real William Shakespeare. For the third argument, why did you stare at me? Don't look at me, you're supposed to be looking down there.
Okay then.
Okay. Oh, I forgot to use my timer. Okay. Our th-
Oh yeah, our third argument, and then say also according to the.
Okay. Our third argument is that there are clues in the writing that the author is actually Edward de Vere. According to the WGBH Educational Foundation video, a glove maker's son wouldn't know the jargon used in the work, therefore he couldn't have been the real author. The second part is that Edward de Vere spent most of 1575 in Italy, and 14 of Shakespeare's plays have Italian settings. Our conclusion is, my partner and I would like to end this debate with proving that Edward de Vere...
You're not supposed to say my conclusion is.
I know, that's why I was laughing. Okay. My partner and I would like to end this debate with proving that Edward de Vere was in fact William Shakespeare. It is time.
Sam.
I'm sorry.
What's so funny? Not even funny, dude.
Not to you, you're not the one up here.
Yeah, but I will, and it's not that funny.
Stop. Don't be sassy. Finish.
My partner and I would like to end this debate with proving that Edward de Vere was in fact William Shakespeare. It is time that Edward de Vere is credited with a work that is falsely attributed to William Shakespeare. We are open for any questions and points of clarification.
Okay. That was my turn for this. Okay. Wow.
Hoopa.
The question at hand today is who actually.
Hold on. I just sat down.
You ready?
Want to laugh now?
Okay, can we start?
Right.
Can I start?
I'm ready right here.
So I can start.
Can I be in the video?
You are.
We should have a bloopers at the end of this.
No. So fucking
Okay, can I start? The question at hand today is who actually wrote the works of William Shakespeare. Every year, students are taught that William Shakespeare is a brilliant writer and poet, but now there's shaky evidence that William is not the true poet we've come to know and love. These studies have said that William's work should be credited to Edward de Vere. My partner and I conclude that this theory is in fact false. We do not believe that Edward de Vere was the true author of the brilliant sonnets, plays, and other works of literature that belonged to William Shakespeare. Therefore, we stand resolved that the works of William Shakespeare do in fact belong to William and have no connection to Edward. My partner and I believe that the Edward de Vere theory is definitely false. There is substantial evidence that replaces the shaky evidence that is provided by the researchers who say de Vere is the true author. Technically, there can't be two authors, and only one can be credited, especially considering the following evidence.
So what's your first argument?
I'm about to go through it. Okay.
What's your definition?
Oh, we don't have any definitions. So. We don't need to. We can understand the words that we have.
Okay, can you go a little slower then?
Oh, are they going too fast? Should I just redo that?
No.
Okay. Our point one, Robert Valenza and Ward Elliott of the Shakespearean Clinic and the Oxfordians found little match between the two authors' writing. This means if Edward de Vere really is a true author, he would have had to switch up his natural writing style to fit William's works. Most authors can change their style in which they write, but not for multiple plays and poems and sonnets and whatnot. And Shakespeare basically made up an entire language based on his own plays. It's kind of hard to mimic something like that, so most writers could have trouble doing that. It's known that Edward de Vere was well qualified to write 37 plays and 154 sonnets, but Shakespeare was at will. Although no evidence was recorded about him going to school, or even if he existed, it was still said that he had attended school and grew up in a diverse cultural background. This could have caused some beef between the two writers due to the similarities that they did share. Edward was known to be a leader of Edward was known to be a leader of the acting group called the Oxford Boys, which was a group that performed at the Blackfriars Theatre, a well-known rival to the Globe Theatre. Okay, redoing that one. Edward was known to be a leader of the acting group called the Oxford Boys, which was a group that performed in the Blackfriars Theatre, which was a well-known rival to the Globe Theatre, where Shakespeare had performed. This could have been the start to assumptions that one would steal another's work. It is noted that de Vere makes no mention of his work in his will. William did not either, but his son did die, according to prior evidence, and it's assumed that he wouldn't want to leave his work to anyone because there was no one to leave it to. Also, it's noted that none of de Vere's plays have survived and thrived as long as Shakespeare's have, and it could easily show the differences of the quality of de Vere's work and Shakespeare's plays, which would explain why de Vere would want Shakespeare's plays credited to him instead. So, in conclusion, my partner and I, after research and In conclusion, my partner and I have researched and came to the conclusion that we decided that the works of Shakespeare should in fact be credited to William Shakespeare. And we are now open for questions. Okay.
Can I see your
Okay. These are the questions we're going to go up there. It's our work period, so.
I know that.
Edward de Vere lived in Italy. In 1575, and 14 plays had Italian settings. So there was connection
I know that they've been.
How long do I have to talk for? 4 minutes. Okay.
Pop.
Kill two birds with one stone.
When they said Shakespeare as a language, we're all looking here to just make up the slang that others use. Or the slang of an intelligence.
He didn't have enough education in order to create that type of language.
Yeah, and then I said, if we had a tutor, would you write that down? Like, your thing. You grab.
Should be.
1 minute. Are you timing the 4-minute work period? Come on,
We have
folks.
2 minutes.
Are you timing the 4-minute work period?
Not 5 seconds.
Is your time? Negative?
First off, one of my questions, in an attempt to understand your arguments better, is in your first argument you stated that nothing of personal belonging was found in his house. But wasn't his house his house?
They're going to answer you. Keep going.
The second argument states that Edward was hiding behind Shakespeare as a writer, but he belonged to his own group, Oxford Boys, and Blackfriars Theatre is where they performed. And Hamlet was one of his sons, so he named a play after him. So if that was the case, if one of his sons was Hamlet, like Edward did, we didn't even have sons or daughters according to history. And if Shakespeare's was Hamlet, why would he name it after a play?
Affirmative?
So do I go off what he said or what she said?
You're attacking their case. It's your job.
So going back to what Megan had said on there's no match between the two writers, that's false because Edward lived in Italy in 1575 and 14 of the plays were in the Italian setting. Also, a glove maker's son wouldn't know the slang, and she had said that Shakespeare made up his own language. Well, it's kind of hard to make up a language that already existed.
to switch.
2-minute work period. 3 minutes.
Reagan, do you still have the other side of my argument?
Seconds. Affirmative, you're prepared to take their position, rebuild your case. Your job is to rebuild the case. Respond to the arguments that were made. You have 2 minutes, beginning now. All right.
Wait. When TJ came up and said that Shakespeare had a son named Hamlet, and there's also a play named Hamlet, there is still no proof that he existed and that he had that son, so it could have been something made up in order to make it seem that Edward Shakespeare was a real person and that he did create those plays. Also, the stuff that belonged in his house that was found could have belonged to. We could work over this on the weekend, right? With Smith. Okay.
Time. You have 2 minutes to make any final discussions amongst yourselves.
Wait, don't I get to?
There's 2 minutes. Okay, respond. Sorry, negative. Go.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so when you guys mentioned that there was a match between the two writers and the Italy thing, I had never said that the plays had no match between them. I just said that the writing styles had no match between them, and that was coming from Robert Valenza and Ward Elliott of the Shakespeare Clinic and the Oxfordians. It just two authors writing. It's different styles, not necessarily the plays that they wrote. And also, when you mentioned that there was also a connection between them due to their name, you said that Edward de Vere's nickname was Shakespeare, but it wasn't. It was actually Spear Shaker, and that was from the court. So I would just like to make that clear. Also, when you came up with the glove maker slang and made-up language, it was technically credited to William that it was his language that he made up for his plays and different types of writing, and that's just, yeah, that's the answer to that. And since you didn't have any other questions, I don't have any other responses, so.
Prep time.
Yeah, just like these statements. And then go to your conclusion and just be like,
30 seconds.
yeah, just start. And just say to, after that, just be like, thanks to the evidence we provided, paper 1, 2, and 3. That's just support for what we said. So.
Negative closing.
Okay, even though you guys had good arguments and good points, we still stand that the works of William Shakespeare are in fact his writing. Just the points that on the Oxfordians and Robert Valencia and Ward Elliott of the Shakespeare Clinic, that they found little match between the two authors. That's a good point in my opinion, because if it's two different writings, how could they relate to the same person? Also, just the fact that it's known that Edward de Vere was qualified to write 37 plays and 154 sonnets, but Shakespeare was as well. Although no evidence was recorded, it was said that Shakespeare indeed attended school and grew up in a diverse cultural background. This easily could have caused some altercations between the two writers due to the similarities they share. Also, just because it was noted that de Vere makes no mention of his works in his will, William did not either, but his son did die, which was Hamlet, also a play that was written about his son, and it is assumed that he didn't have anyone to leave his will to. So if he didn't have anyone to leave his will to, his daughters and his wife could not take his inheritance. And it's also noted that none of de Vere's plays have survived and thrived as long as Shakespeare's have. So in my conclusion and my partner's conclusion,
Time.
we have researched that William Shakespeare is indeed the author of his works.
Affirmative closing remarks.
If Shakespeare was credited for this work, then how could nobody notice when he passed away? Also, there was no notes in his hand. If he was always constantly on the works of writing, always doing theater and all of that, then why wouldn't he have any of his work on him? Also, no one wanted to read a poor man's work, so it's hard that people even said, would even like his plays back then.
That's why we said that Edward de Vere may lie behind the persona Shakespeare, also because his nickname. Although there were valid points on both sides, we would like to end this debate proving Edward de Vere was in fact William Shakespeare. It is time that Edward de Vere is credited with the works that are falsely attributed to William Shakespeare.
You would shake each other's